people. I'm Dax.
And I'm Em.
And this is Full His House.
Your Full House Fancast.
And today we are covering Season 1, Episode 10, Joey's Place. While Joey is gone for 2 weeks on a college tour, the others decide to build him his own bedroom in the garage. Meanwhile, Jesse takes over his duties. Right off the bat, this is one of my favorite episodes.
You know, I actually really like this episode too. I think it was like, episode 3 or 4 or something. I had brought up the fact that I was like, why are they just sticking him in a corner? Why are we sticking Joey in a corner and not like giving him a space to like be a human? And we finally got to that point where it's like he's got more space than anybody else. He basically has a whole apartment downstairs.
It does, because like it's a whole thing. He has his own bathroom. It's a whole situation. They really hooked him up. And this is kind of what's going to, we're going to get into it, but I do want to, we're going to start tallying all of the updates to the house and big expenses that Danny does out of his pocket. And we're going to try, I really do want to try to like just make an estimate of how much he's actually like spent on this house and this family. This is probably the first big expense he does on the house and or family. But you really got to give it to the guy. And I do remember you like bringing up wanting to see actual indications that Danny and Joey are even cool. Did you kind of feel that you got that from this episode at all?
We did get a bit of chemistry, but so here's the thing, right? Is like we definitely did get a bit of that. It wasn't specifically between those two, but it was between like Joey and the entirety of the family. So I guess in a sense we can count it. But no, I thought this was a really cute episode. I thought this is an episode that we've been waiting for, because while, you know, Joey's humor isn't quite my sense of humor, I love Joey. I adore Joey. I think that he's hilarious as a character, maybe not as a comedian, but as a character, as a person. I think he's absolutely hysterical and he's sweet. I see him do things, I'm just like, oh my God, sweet summer child. Somebody protect him on a consistent basis. But this was just really, really cute. It sucked that they had to see all the things he was doing before he got the space of his own.
Yeah. It took a little bit, but you know, they did get there, and I agree with you. It's a cute episode. I really love this episode. I love Joey. The older I get, the more I identify with Joey, weirdly. It's definitely one for the books. So the episode starts with Joey ironing in his Joey way. He's got like stacks of shirts and pants and is just kind of doing that classic tune to ironing. It's ridiculous.
Classic tune. I didn't even recognize it, honestly.
Joey is ironing. Somehow this works. Steph asks if it's normal. For Joey, it is the answer. Joey says he has amazing news, but he won't tell until everyone is home, which I think is kind of nice. He wants to like wait till the whole family is there, or he just doesn't want to repeat himself. But
I mean, I understand the not repeating yourself, but he's also a very like sentimental guy. So I think it's more just like I want the whole family to be here to just like celebrate it with me all at once.
Yeah, Joey. Jesse walks in from a day of killing bugs, and he tells the girls to never get into that line of work, which they agree. Joey continues to tease that he has great news, but he won't share it. Danny finally comes home, and Joey announces that he has been chosen to go on a college comedy tour, which is like amazing news for Joey,
like,
because we're always, yeah. Have you ever like seen? Well, I guess you would. I mean, we went to college in Los Angeles, but like, I don't know a lot of like, are these situations where comedians are going to colleges and performing?
Oh yeah. I mean, I know it's definitely a thing. Obviously we went to the same college, so we know that we didn't have it, but my sister, she went to Eastern, and I know that they kind of appeared there sometimes too, but you can also a lot of times find like certain comedians, college specials like online or on YouTube and whatnot. A lot of them do go to college campuses, and whether it be like, you know, usually it's not like in the actual college, they're not like in the auditorium. It's usually like a bar that's on campus or something like that, where they can kind of do it from there.
That's really cool. It's interesting, like just the college influence of pop culture, because something that I know a lot of musicians do too is they try to market to like college radio stations
Mm-hmm.
and the college scene. So this is just recognizing the fact that this is kind of a big break for Joey. It is a full on tour with where he can really flex his muscles, and it's a huge thing.
Well deserved.
Um, very well deserved. Joey says he doesn't think he can do it because of all of his responsibilities at home, but Jesse says that he can take over while Joey is away. And Joey goes to hug Jesse, but Jesse says if he does, the deal is off. Joey is then rehearsing in the living room, and Danny comments how Joey's stuff is everywhere in the living room except the actual alcove, which
True.
is not really his. It's true, but is it really his fault?
I mean, not really. I mean, the poor guy doesn't have any space. What is he supposed to do?
Yeah,
Y'all didn't give him no bins, no boxes. You just like figure it out. There's no closet. That's why all his clothes are all over the place. I wouldn't know where to put them either. Should I just put it in a pile on top of the place that I usually sleep and move it when I'm ready to sleep?
Stephanie then runs in practicing for her next honeybee meeting while Joey tries to rehearse, which I think is so funny. Like she's practicing by running around the living room, listening to the Flight of the Bumblebee. Now I'm getting another a classical term.
Is that not what it was? Wrong.
Flight of the maybe it's a different verse of Flight of the Bumblebee. It is a Bumblebee associated tune, but I don't think it's necessarily Flight of the Bumblebee.
I thought that's what it was, but like I said, I am not the music major that would be used. So I would trust your judgment over mine.
Well, it's funny because I only know this because in a later episode, Joey sings or hums Flight of the Bumblebee and it sounds different. So, I mean, if anybody's out there, please put me in my place and get me back on track. But Joey then tries for Jesse's room, but Jesse is also rehearsing in his room whilst DJ is trying to do her homework. So Joey then goes into Michelle's room, who is alone with a talking parrot.
You know, it's the alone in the room with the closed door. I'm just like, dang, they really just kind of leave her in there sometimes, huh?
Can you leave a baby alone?
I mean, I'm sure I'm sure it's not like a safety thing because obviously she's like in the crib and whatnot. She's been standing a little bit whatnot lately, but I wouldn't say it was like necessarily a safety concern. It's just like a more of a why is nobody playing with her type of thing? Why are we just keeping her in the cage? Like it's
it's like that's where she go. Yeah, and then there's that weird parrot thing.
Yeah.
I guess is that like a verbal stimulus? Like you can just talk to a baby. Like you don't have to have a mechanical parrot. I don't know. Like that. It's funny because she really is just like this magical baby who just like lives her own life in that room, has her own things that she's doing, her own.
Figured out how to get the parrot to record and replay it back at you is crazy. Like all in one sitting. She said, look, this is what it's saying right now. He spoke. She said, cool, record, play it back at you. Like, what? if she can do that, why are we not like doing more to put her somewhere? Like y'all could be making money off of her. Daddy don't even need to work.
That's another thing we're going to get into, just like the vapid growth of the brains on these children and the sentences that they can form so young. It's insane.
Oh
even with Jodie Sweetin at this point, she's like, what, 5?
Yeah.
And she's like carrying the show, basically.
Oh my goodness. All of the jokes are a little bit adult-esque, which is funny.
So Joey finally ends up in the garage and DJ walks in and he performs Ode to a Fountain, where he's squirting water out of his mouth onto his car. And DJ's just having so much fun with it. It kind of looks like the actual child in the room was having fun with his little fountain bit, which was really cute, I think.
I mean, look, just because of the I guess spraying of water from his mouth, I would have found it irritating, but I'm a different kind of person. You know, even as a kid, I would have been like, I'm not cleaning that up. But again, different childhood. I was expected to clean those things up. So for me, it was nah, even in the garage, you can't do that out. You can't do that here. You gotta do that outside. Why are you spitting on the floor? That's immediately where my mind went. You could just tell how old I am because my mind went immediately to the adult place. Why are you spitting on the floor?
It is like, yeah, for the most part, it is actually kind of gross. DJ says that whenever she sees that routine, it makes her want to throw pennies on his face and make a wish. She then offers her room for him to rehearse in. And DJ notices that Joey keeps his clothes in his car. And Joey says that it's hard to not have privacy. He talks about his old place where he was a king and it was great. And they bond over life before sharing a space. So DJ was also talking a little bit about, how she had her own room and now she has to share it. They go into this not that I'm complaining type of thing.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting conversation between the two because they're both kind of relating to the big adjustment that they recently had to go through a few months ago.
Which was, I thought, really clever because I feel like it's very rare that you see situations where like an adult can fully understand or be going through something that like a kid is also currently going through. You usually kind of think, when I'm a kid, I go through these kind of problems, and then when I'm an adult, I'll go through these kind of problems, but you don't really ever see the moments where those problems overlap, and it can happen whether you're an adult or a kid. So it's just a really interesting scene.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I agree. Yeah, and when are you really just able to have comfortable conversations between an adult and a child in a show, so and it's cool to actually see Joey interacting with the girls on a level. Like there's a lot of development going on in that conversation, so it's really cool. In another scene where everybody but Joey is helping change Michelle, DJ talks to Danny and Jesse about Joey's living situation. And Danny agrees that it's sad and says that he needs his own room.
About time.
During this conversation, Stephanie continuously comes into the room, messing up the signal for if Joey arrives, which is the duck flies at midnight. But she comes in and says, Joey isn't here yet. And she's very confused about how it works. When Joey actually arrives, she says, the chicken drives at 7-Eleven.
Which is the most interesting thing to say in like an improvise, especially when you don't remember what you're supposed to say. But I thought it was kind of funny. On top of that, funny enough, I never thought about the fact that 7-Eleven would have been like I guess a popular or a thing of a, like, how do I say it? I wouldn't have thought that 7-Eleven would have been mentionable in like, I guess 1987.
Yeah, like
I didn't really realize how old it was.
Yeah, they must have been, maybe there was some kind of paid promotion there, or they were just big enough to where you can kind of say these things. But yeah, it was interesting to hear like a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that's the first time we've heard something like real like that.
Yeah, it was interesting. Joey walks in and asks what's going on, and Danny says that it's a new family ritual. And Joey is suspect, wondering if it's a new family ritual, why wasn't he invited? Which is like the starting of Joey kind of feeling like, all right, something's going on with the family. I don't really know if I'm like part of this family. It's a little bit weird. Like he takes it super suspect, like, which totally makes sense.
You know what? It makes sense mainly because of what Jesse said to him before he left. He said, yeah, go. We don't need you. And you could tell at that moment, like his face kind of changed. And that's why when he came back and they're just like, oh, it's a new family ritual. He's like, okay, so everything is fine. Nobody missed me. And now we have new family rituals I'm not even in on.
Right. Yeah. Like with just how easily they were able to say, oh yeah, you can leave for a while. Mm-hmm. It's totally cool. Like it kind of probably triggered, or maybe not triggered, but activated those thoughts.
Oh, 100%.
And on the day that Joey is going to leave, Joey and Jesse are in the kitchen and Joey is planning all of the needs that the girls in the home has on a corkboard, very organized corkboard of all of his responsibilities. Jesse is paying attention, but not paying attention. He is nailing breakfast. Everybody loves his eggs and asks for seconds. And Joey asks, why doesn't anybody ever ask for a second helping of his eggs? Which maybe his eggs just don't slap as hard, which is fine. I mean, but you could take that personally.
You can be good at a lot of things, but you don't always have to be good at everything, you know? Joey, you're funny. You just can't cook. That's okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it's eggs. I feel like people are very particular about their eggs, man. So
Definitely.
it's totally
100%.
fine. Danny wishes Joey luck, and Jesse and Danny sidebar about what they can do. And Jesse says he was up all night thinking about it, or just that he was up all night, which
I would hope. I
is
mean,
gross.
why thinking about it? I don't know. That little bit, I guess, was a little bit confusing to me. I was like, up all night. Like, were you like thinking about it, or were you like restless? Like, what was there, I guess, to be so anxious about?
I think the idea is that, like, first he says, yeah, I was up all night thinking about it. Well, I was up all night. Like, I think he was like with a girl or something.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know. Jesse then tells Joey to get lost and go on his tour. Jesse says bye to Michelle, and he knows something is up with the family and says that Michelle is the only one who cares about him. He feels replaceable and doesn't think that the family needs him anymore and leaves.
Yeah, that was the part. Yeah, you're good. We don't need you. Get on out of here. I was kind of like, dang. Yeah, that would hurt. Hearing somebody say, "Yeah, we don't need you. Get out of here," is crazy. Even if it's like a, go and pursue your dreams type of thing. Hearing somebody say, "We don't need you," that's always gonna hurt.
Yeah, even if it is like lighthearted or whatever, it just
Mm-hmm.
kind of sucks. Everybody wants to feel needed, wanted. I think those are like normal human feelings.
Yeah.
So it's like an interesting, and it just kind of like puts salt in the wound a little bit for him. But, because we know where it's going, it hurts the audience a little bit less, but you just feel for Joey.
Yeah.
Jesse is doing laundry with Michelle, and the bell rings. It's a woman stating that it's Joey's afternoon to watch the kids. And if I remember correctly, and I got this information from How Rude Tenorito, so if you're out there and you're listening to this and for some reason not listening to that, you should listen to that and they'll tell you who these guest star mamas are because they are very important people. But could you imagine, like, this really does, okay, there's like 4 or 5 moms, and each week they all choose one day to have all of these kids, all these boys, they're all boys,
Mm-hmm.
dumped on one of these moms, plus Michelle the infant.
I can understand the appeal though, because it's like, yeah, while there's one day where you'll be stuck with all these kids, there's also like an additional 5 where like, or an additional 4 where you won't, including your own kid.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a sweet deal, like, but it's interesting. I wonder if he tried to warn Jesse about this and Jesse just wasn't paying attention, because this is a big thing to prepare for.
Well, yeah, I mean, wasn't he trying to say something about it earlier when he was like bringing up like kids or something like that? Like, I feel like he had brought it up or tried to bring it up at one point, and they just kept trying to get him out the door because they thought he was trying to, back out or something like that. At least that's what I feel like I remember, but I could be completely off. I feel like that's what I remember.
It's crazy. It does seem very chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse immediately tries to take control of the situation, but the 4 boys start wreaking havoc. So that's how that goes.
Joy.
During dinner preparations, the girls say that they miss Joey and say that they are hungry. And Danny shows up late. Jesse has a full-on housewife type meltdown where he mentions he had to miss Oprah, his casserole's ruined, and it's actually a really great performance from John Stamos. I think it's really funny.
He pulled it off. Honestly, I thought it was absolutely hilarious. He really, what's it called? He channeled his inner wife. It was nice to see.
Yeah, and then he has a moment with himself where he says, "Oh my God, what's happening to me?" Or, "Oh my God, who am I?" But he has that moment of reflection, and it's like, this is what happens, man. You're changing. This is growth. It's okay. It's okay.
I would have loved a little toss to his own mom there, like in some kind of joke or some kind of reference would have been kind of hilarious, especially since we've kind of been introduced to her once before.
Yeah, he could have been like, "Huh, I'm gonna go give my mom a call," or something like
Yeah,
that.
like I feel like I
Just a
need to thank
little,
her.
yeah, a little bit of acknowledgement for what his mom probably went through every single day.
Man.
Um, Danny reveals that he spoke to some contractors and they will be building Joey his own room in the garage. Everybody's excited. In the next scene, Joey comes back and he is all hype and he notices that the alcove is absolutely empty. Stephanie noticed that Joey has returned, and she properly alerts the family by saying the duck flies at midnight.
Look at her getting
Joey
it
walks
down.
in on Say again.
I said, look at her getting it down. She must have
Yeah.
practiced that quite a bit.
They had the full duration of him being gone. Joey walks in on the family playing Monopoly and they're just acting like he doesn't even exist. They don't seem to care that he's home. He asks where all of his stuff is, and Danny says, "Oh, we threw it in the garage." You know what? This is a little bit extra for me. I don't think they had to do all that. Okay.
You know, I understand what you're saying 100%. I've never been a big fan of like pranks, right? I get that a lot of pranks can be harmless and whatnot. I'm already an anxious person as it is. I don't need your surprise pranks to go along with it, even if it's meant to end with me being happy at the end. I just don't want to deal with the stress that goes from getting from point A to point B. You get me? And this is one of those situations where you could have just said that, we created you a space downstairs, or you could have just also, I don't know, walked him downstairs instead of saying anything. That would have worked as well. But if it was me personally, yeah, this would have gotten on my nerves a little bit. I am not a big fan of like pranks by any means. I don't take them easily. They stress me out. So this would have stressed me out because I've been like, seriously, man. Because then I'm already in the frame of mind of me having to argue with you. Now I feel like I'm meant to be mad. But when you take me downstairs, see, that's when I guess that other part of me comes out, and I'm just like, I don't know how you expect me to flip from being pissed off to now being happy. I don't have that ability. Like, I'll be appreciative, but I'm gonna do it with attitude.
It's just all around whack. And like I kind of agree with you on all fronts. And Joey is all mad. He runs downstairs and he's saying all the obvious stuff like if you didn't want me here, you could have just said that. I didn't ask to live here, and his new room is revealed. And he is ecstatic, and it's all of his old furniture that they got from his mom. And Danny says that he deserves it, and Joey acknowledges, "Danny, this must have cost a fortune." And Danny says, "Don't ask."
Nah, I want to see them numbers. What did those numbers look like for you to be able to get it built and the amount of time that you got it built in? Because contractors
the
take
2-week
so
thing is what's
long.
more like they take. I've never heard a positive experience with a contractor before. Even with people who have money, like I've always just heard that it's an absolute nightmare to work with those people. So the money thing I can let go of. It's the 2-week thing that the fact that you can get them to start within 2 weeks is insane, let alone have them finish the entire project. That's plumbing. That's,
Yeah. He had a whole toilet and a shower and a sink. Like, yeah, they'd have to drill in order to get to the plumbing, wouldn't they? Or would they just, I mean, even if they didn't drill into the ground, they'd have to definitely go into the wall in order to connect some pipes together. But then don't they have to worry about like beams and whatnot, like for stability? And then like, will the foundation take it? Like, I feel like there's a lot that goes into that, especially with just also trying to get it to a point where the garage door doesn't actually open and close anymore. Instead, it's a wall.
Yeah.
Right? Like
that's a really good point, because that's where the garage door was.
Yeah.
So now it's not, it's just a wall now. Maybe, yeah. You know what? Maybe they were able to like, yeah, that's like a really, that's a really good point.
Man, see, this is what happens when you try and take like a realistic look at some of these shows, because you start realizing, wait, how do they do that in 2 weeks?
They did like that. That's the one thing that's just sitcom.
And
They're
that's
never
also
going to be
like
able to explain.
that's also like assuming that the contractor started the day he left and stopped the day he came back.
Was it that first day that Jesse had his meltdown and then Danny said that he had spoken to some contractors? So that's at least like, so now we're down to like what, 13 days as opposed to 14.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we're also still assuming that the day that he found the contractors, they were able to come out, start, and they had all of the needed supplies already on hand. They didn't have to go through any suppliers. They went through the whole thing of like picking out flooring and paint. It's just thinking about it. When you think about it in steps, there's so many things that go into it. I can't imagine one, how you found a company that was able to do it in that amount of time, and two, how much extra it would cost to tell them it's a rush job.
Yeah, maybe you can save on like just using whatever it is they have at that time, but still, it's definitely that's probably one of the most unbelievable things we've seen on the show.
Yeah.
Danny says that it's his way of saying thank you for the help. And Joey says that he appreciates that they really want them there. And Danny says that face it, pal, you're a tanner. And then DJ suggests that Steph move into the alcove for whatever reason. And Stephanie says, you're too good to me. It's all yours. And that's pretty much the end of the show.
This was a good episode. This was a very cute episode. It was an episode that I was definitely waiting to happen, because Joey definitely deserved to have his own spot. Again, the fact that they got it done the amount of time that they did, the fact that it looks as nice as they did, it has full plumbing. Like, I don't remember if the stairs going down to the base, down to the garage beforehand were carpeted or not, but they definitely went through a whole thing in there. So that was just crazy. But Joey did deserve it. Joey also still got to go and have his big break. We didn't hear about how that went. That was a little disappointing. But other than that, I really liked it.
Yeah, this is one of the most memorable moments in Full House history. Face it, pal, you're a tanner. And, you know, just his bedroom. And this also starts a very crazy, like, I mean, I had mentioned before about the financial part, but just the garage and all of its forms and uses. Because I mean, I don't mean to get too ahead, but that's a character in itself. It's awesome what they do with that garage and just how the house expands and stuff like that. It's super crazy. But yeah, it's definitely the fact that they have something so memorable so early on, and like so heartfelt with Joey, and like giving Joey like giving him some dynamic as well, because again, we always kind of see that there's a little bit of a darkness to Joey. So, you know, and just seeing him like upset it always just feels heavier, because he's the funny guy, and it's like, well, things must be really, you know, a certain way for him to be like that. So, but I'm happy that, you know, they made him really part of the family, because it's easy to feel like he would be the odd one out because he's not related to anybody.
Yeah, he's the only one in the house that's not related.
Exactly. But that is kind of what makes this episode so special. It's like that message of you don't have to be blood to be family kind of thing, which I think is really dope.
No, I like that. Honestly, I didn't really even think about that, but no, I like that. That idea that like family can be more than just blood. Obviously, I feel like, you know, you're my sister at this point, not just beyond best friends. You're my sister, so I can understand that notion.
Yeah, no, it's like the chosen family is like a real thing. And yes, I absolutely love you, and you are also my sister. But you know, no more feels o'clock.
You don't have me crying.
Don't you go, 'cause I'll go. Do we have a not in my house moment?
I'm torn. I'm torn between the Joey spitting in the garage and the family saying we tossed your stuff in the garage.
Oh, the prank?
Yeah. I am torn between those two things because neither of them would have flown. Both of them probably would have got me smacked in the mouth.
Yeah, I would say it would probably be the water thing for me. But there wasn't a lot of like involvement with the kids in this episode, so it's
No.
kind of hard to have a not in my house moment. But it's funny that the not in my house moment is coming from Joey.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, also kind of like fitting because while he's an adult, he's also like our more childish adult. So I mean, like he does a lot of outlandish things, but because there were no kids in this, well, not no kids, but we had very little involvement from the kids in this episode. It gave us a chance to really focus in on Joey a little bit more and see his shenanigans for what they are.
Yeah, yeah. His bits are always just an interesting journey to go on.
True.
Do we have a get the violins moment?
I think we're gonna have to go with that ending line. Like, face it, you're a tanner. I think that would be my
definitely.
Get the violence moment, because at that moment, like you could really feel that meant a lot to Joey. He's wanted to feel that way, but now like you're hearing it, you're feeling the appreciation, and now you also have your own space, which is basically giving Master Suite.
Yeah, it's a really cool room, and in that moment where Joey also says that what matters to him is that he knows that they really want him there, I think is really sweet.
I agree.
Would probably be my get the violence moment.
I like.
Do we have a full stop or any moments that did not age well?
You know what? I don't have like a necessarily a moment that didn't age well, but I'll say my full stop moment will probably be when Joey walked in and Michelle was just in the room by herself with the parrot, because I really did have to come to a full stop. I was just like, wait, why is she in the room by herself with the talking parrot? And who taught her to use it that fluently? It's just crazy.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting because the door being closed is what's bumping me.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't like, that's at least don't let her feel so alone in there. I don't know, like that. You know what? Yeah, that's our full stop moment. That's insane.
Yeah, because it's just like, I can understand closing the door if she's asleep, but like we open the door and she's like fully awake. She's happy. She's ready to play. And Joyce is like, yeah, I'll leave you in here alone with your parrot. It's like, no, go back. She would have loved to hear your jokes. What are we talking about?
Yeah, like that also, like, she was being quiet.
Yeah.
He could have, but she had company. So, and our a dad like Danny. What did he do this episode that kind of,
I guess,
makes us want to be a dad like him?
Oh, I'm going to have to put a little spin on this one, because while we love Danny, I think that Jesse was the one who stepped up as dad this time.
Yeah, okay, all right,
Yeah.
we will accept that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the whole episode is kind of a dad like Danny moment, just his whole involvement, or maybe just like half of the episode, him talking to the contractors, putting the money down and having them alter his house for Joey, I think is really cool. But if we're talking about actual parental duties, yes, Jesse stepped it up for the house so that could also get done. And I don't want to say that like one matters more than the other,
No,
because
not at
if
all.
it was just Danny, this would not be able to happen, because there would still, like, the girls would still need some support while he's at work. So
100%.
yeah, it was definitely a group effort.
But the biggest reason why I say Jesse is because of that scene where he just kind of got a bunch of kids dropped on his lap, like, yo, it's your day, with no warning beforehand. I just think like that in itself, the fact that he's still learning to even parent the girls that he has there, and he has very little, he has no experience with boys. Everybody who lives in the house is a girl other than the adults. So it's just, yeah, I wanted to give credit where credit is due. Danny gets credit on a consistent basis. I love Danny. He's one of my favorite characters. This is one of the few times where we really got to see Jesse kind of come through and shine as more than just like the fun uncle, but as like the responsible, I'm taking care of you uncle.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. But yeah, that's That covers it. Do we have any other thoughts before we wrap things up?
Not really. I just really like this episode. It seems like these episodes are getting better and better, and slowly, like, there's a lot of things that we kind of talked about at the beginning, like when we first started all of this, where you're like, we're going to be getting into some episodes that are going to be really nice and this, that, and the other thing. I feel like we're finally getting to that point where, like, they've set up enough, like, lore and relationship to where we're going to start getting some really interesting episodes. So I'm curious. I'm curious, and I'm excited to see what comes next.
Yeah, I had said last week, oh, we're getting into some good Full House now.
Yeah, you did.
It started.
You definitely did.
Yeah, this is we're heading into some eras right now, some arcs. But yeah, let's send everyone out.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, all the things, and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, this is Dax
and M reminding you
to never walk away angry.